Okay, so as I said before, on because there wasn't enough room in the documentary, the first one, I'm interviewing Kyle on this documentary because I didn't have enough room to interview Kyle in the first documentary. So this is Kyle. He actually came up with the idea to do the London, Ontario metal documentary for the scene. And so here we go. We'll be interviewing Kyle. Kyle, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Kyle Easton. I also go by Thrasher Kelly from my old band, which was a nickname given to me at early when I was a teenager. So I just kind of stuck with that name for a long time. So yeah, we ran out of room in part one to do an interview, which technically was supposed to be my old band in it, but I figure that I would just talk about what my experiences are in the metal scene. Um, so yeah, we're gonna do this right now.
All right. So let's start off with these questions here. Um, Kyle, how long have you lived in London for?
Well, I moved. Well, I technically ran away from Elmer, Ontario, in about 2006. Basically because I grew up as a foster kid, and then I came back and lived on the streets till I was homeless, until I found my way into a group home, and then basically I was in London since from 2006 all the way till now.
Okay. Um, so how long have you been into the metal scene for?
I would have to say, like, I started in 2009, so I'm probably going to say about 10 years now I've been in the scene. The first show I ever went to see was Lamb of God and Gore at Budweiser Gardens. And then it wasn't till 2011 was when I went to go see, like, my first show, which was Cancer Bats, 3 Inches of Blood, Searching for Satellites, and The Twin. And then I instantly became hooked on Searching for Satellites, and then I basically like went to every Searching for Satellites show until they disbanded, and then it wasn't until like I went to see my all-time favorite band was Kitty, and then there was this band called Mullet Corpse at the time, which rest in peace to that band. And basically, like when I met Mullet Corpse, they played the music hall, but Mullet Corpse, like they showed me so many different other bands that were like that I could always see. And then when I saw these bands that like Daryl and like Richard and the other guys, they like I instantly like fell in love, and it was like every week I was scrunging up money to go to all these shows. And basically like it became like an addiction for me that it's just like I have to see these bands.
Okay, that's awesome. And can you tell me, well, this is kind of like what you were saying already. Can you tell me how many concerts you have been to? Or, or is it too many to count?
My guess I'm thinking about is like 2,347 shows. I estimate.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Now, what is your experience going to a concert? Like, what do you feel like? What do you?
I love to be front row. I like, and usually like when I as soon as I open the door, it's like I always walk up to like whatever London band is playing, and I just like shake their hands, and then it's like, and then like see if like someone's standing in line that I know, and like they'll come, or like someone who I haven't seen in months, like who likes that band but they're not at other shows, like they'll just come up and like full on like give me attack hugs and all that stuff, give me fist pumps. It's just like an awesome experience, and it's just like it's almost like for me,
Family sounds
it's
like.
almost like it's a family bond more than it's like I care about the bands. So it's like I listen to their music a lot, but for me it's like the family bond
Mhm.
with a lot of these bands that I have.
Now, what are your thoughts about the metal scene?
Well, the thing is that not a lot of people covered is metal is kind of in London divided into two separate scenes. So I find like we have our extreme metal scene, and then we have like the metalcore hardcore scene, which eventually, like when I first started going to shows, I was venturing off to see those shows. But the problem is like with I went to go to see Dying Fetus in Toronto about last year, and I pulled my back out really bad, and I was diagnosed with chronic spinal stenosis. And my doctor literally said for a whole year you cannot mosh or headbang at shows, or
Oh
else you
my
could
gosh.
literally be killed or paralyzed.
Oh my god.
So literally, it was hard to do that. So what happened is that I had to get medical surgery to do that, to do it, and then basically like I never went to get the surgery. So still to this day, I still don't care. I will headbang and mosh in a pit until my back breaks.
Oh my goodness. So you have to be careful. What okay, what do you do on your spare time? Like hobbies?
Well, for me, I mostly watch a lot of YouTube videos. I will game once in a while. I'm actually like twice a week because I used to, before like I started going to concerts, I played hockey for a long time. And what happened is I had a concussion from being a goaltender. I got because what happened is I would always pull my goalie mask up to basically drink water in between when the ice wasn't like people weren't skating down the ice. I don't know what you call that, but like say if like one of my teammates went off sides or there was a face off or something, I did that. So what happened is this goalie mask was so old. It basically when I was going down to make a save, it basically like shattered the buckles, like the clips off the mask, and then the mask was basically flown freely. And what happened is my teammate was my defenseman was trying to go get the puck, and then what happened is the other teammate, they collided into each other, and basically both of them got me skate first right into the throat, and I was concussed for about 7 months. So that basically like I had nothing to do for a while. So it was like I just turned to music and listening to new albums all the time to basically recover.
Oh my goodness. Why metal?
Well, at first I did not like metal because I grew up with a metal dad. So like my dad, he doesn't listen to much of it now. So but like I remember being like probably like 8 9 months old. My dad literally had like this crappy Ford Crown Vic, and he used to drive my mom crazy with listening to bands like Rat, Poison, and Motley Crue. But it wasn't until like the Black Album came out that it was just so overplayed. And then like in my later years, me and my sister, because my sister always had a good bond, she literally poisoned me with like basically Britney Spears and like stuff like that. And then it wasn't until like my later years I got in like it was like basically like Kiss that got me into metal. And then it was my dad's friend's daughter, Talina Atfield, who was in the London, Ontario female band Kitty. And I basically one night my dad went over to the Atfield's house, and Talina and Morgan and Mercedes. I think Fallon was there. I couldn't be sure because like when Kitty jammed at the Atfield's house, because that was their permanent space at the time, the public and their parents were not allowed to go into that jam space because Kitty was prepping for the Oracle album at that time and recording it. But all I could hear was just like so much noise coming out of that like garage that they had. Like I was instantly hooked. And then it was like my discovery of like much music, but it wasn't until like 2008 I really it was like YouTube that really like opened the door for like all these bands. And then like we had the Metal Hammer magazines. So like I would always like read all these Metal Hammer magazines and then like go on YouTube and like search all these bands that like I never heard about, and instantly like became hooked on all these bands. And still to this day it's like yeah, it's like that. And then I go back and it's like, well, what are these bands I used to listen to in high school? And then like I think about it like 2 years later, I'm like, fuck, I listen to them now, still to this day.
But why metal? What does it do to you?
Well, honestly, like I just when I was a teenager, like I basically had to raise myself. Like I said, I ran away from a foster home when I was 16 years old. So I basically when I lived in a group home, I was having a lot of like depression and stuff like that, and I just listened to a lot of metal at that time just to pass the time because I didn't really want to be around the other kids or do that, and I just always wanted to be up in my room playing guitar and just listening to metal all the time.
Okay, so let me see here. What venues have you been to?
Well, at first when I moved to London, the it was APK, which I used to go frequent that place a lot. Music Hall Lounge, which was torn apart. I actually played my first show in the Music Hall Lounge. Before I started doing like playing shows, was the music. No, it was actually my high school, but it was APK, Call the Office, the Richmond 765, the Gator, Norma Jeans. Um, but also too, like I would travel outside for shows. So like even like when I went back to like my old hometown to visit my foster parents, they like London bands were also even playing in Elmer in like this basement of a church, and it's like, and I was like, Elmer only has like a population of 1,200 people. Like there's not that much people that go to Elmer. And like I go there, there was at least about 600 people crammed into a basement of a church.
Hmm. All right. So, you're also in a band, so I'm gonna ask you some band questions as well.
Hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about the band that you're in?
Well, my recent band was called Necrofucked, which basically that band was another band. I'm not allowed to say because that band I sold the rights to, so they're under so they're based out of Hamilton. So, but I am good friends with the drummer Brent and Sean Bruce, who used to be a Mullet Corp. So I figured that band wasn't going anywhere. That band had about 13 line changes when we formed. Never got to play a show. And then it wasn't until like I reached like I openly joked like it's like why don't I play a show, and then basically like it happened as a last minute thing, which was only supposed to be a one time deal only for me and my buddy Al, and basically Necrofucked played about 4 shows last summer, and those were honestly the best times of my life.
And how long were you in the band for?
Well, like I said, the band formed in about 2013, um, under that other name I'm not allowed to say. But the other bands I was in was basically they were post-hardcore, metalcore, emo bands. But then so like that band undergone like 7 name changes. So we were like once called Decay Cadaver, I think what we were called. Two Story Fall, Freshman's Year, Big City Dreams, and then and then we changed our name back to Freshman's Year. And then what happened is me and the other guitarist, we found like, well, these emo songs we're playing are just so boring, and like we need to go something that's gonna take like a heavier approach. So we formed that death metal band that we had, and then basically like I would the members of that band just didn't have it in them anymore. So eventually Murray Watchhorn, who was in Freshman's Year with me, moved out to Toronto. So that band was done. We replaced Murray with a guy named Alex Cote, and Jake Kirkwood. He was only like he did not know how to play an instrument for the first part of it, and then basically became that. And then Alex Cote found that work was in the way, so we got another singer, another guitar player, and then it was just an ongoing cycle till like it wasn't until like an Ataxia show like 2 years ago in 2017 where me and Benton Van Avery, who plays in Cryopathy and Hello's Other People, him and I formed Necrofucked, but we didn't have any originals. We were just doing live cover streams. That if you guys know me, you will find those live streams on my Facebook.
And what role did you have in the band?
I actually wrote all those. A lot of people don't know this though, is a lot of the songs that were used in Necrofucked were actually Freshman's Year songs. Back from like 2009 that never got used. So like I wrote them and the band was like, they're too overly heavy and too brutal. So I just figured like when I asked Al, like Alan Hernandez, aka Styx Hernandez, who was the drummer, him and I basically, like, it only took us 5 practices to nail those songs down, and he learned them really quick, and I still love Al to this day.
And now what can we expect from you in the future?
Well, sadly right now, Necrofuck, like I said, is on hiatus due to Alan's work schedule, and because of the need I'm in, I just don't feel like replacing Al is what I want to do, because he is a big staple of that band as much as I was. So I figured basically when we get free time is just jam, but no shows for the future.
Do you or would you like to add anything or any shout outs or anything like that?
To add, nothing as far as I know. Shoutouts, honestly, I'd love to shout out everybody who was a part of this documentary. Basically all the bands that were in my life, a lot of the bands that we tried to get in this documentary, but some were okay with it, some had heavy work schedules. That's the bands I'd like to thank, like that were important to me is Ataxia, Mullet Corpse, Talbotville Gore, Jim Ferreira at 765, The Richmond, Sammy at London Rock, obviously my dad for basically putting up with the noise all the time, and that's pretty much it.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for helping, well, with everything.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and being such a great fan to metal, and helping with the interview, the documentary, bringing up the documentary, and doing the documentary and everything. And thank you for everything again.
No problem. Hope you guys enjoy it.
here we have a metal fan. Metal in London for the documentary. And this is
Hi, my name's Evan.
Evan. And so we're going to start off first. Just let us know. Actually, Evan is in some of my movies. And he does more. What else do you do, Evan?
I do makeup artistry, some special effects, blood and gore, some fashion shows as well. And I also work general labor jobs as well.
Okay. And so how long have you lived in London?
Since 2010.
Okay.
So it's roughly about 9 years.
And so as far as metal goes, how long have you been a metal fan for?
Probably since about 1982, 83, since I turned about 13, 14 years old.
And how many venues have you gone to in London?
And quite a few, actually. I did about, give or take a few, about 10.
10 venues?
Mm-hmm.
Are some of the venues are not around anymore? Can you name any of the venues?
Yeah. There's a couple bars that I used to go to all the time. Everybody knows of it. It's the Brunswick House.
Mm-hmm.
They always held a lot of venues there for the metal scene here in London, but it's no longer. Unfortunately, it's gone. It's well missed too.
And okay, we'll get to some of the questions. So we got to like how long have you lived in London? How long have you been into the metal scene for? And you've been to some of the recent venues.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have.
And we've actually did an interview at that recent venue, the 765. I've seen you there.
Yeah.
We've been there.
They have a lot of good bands there, actually.
Yes. And can you tell me some of the bands, some of your favorite bands that you've seen, or just?
Well, I saw. Finally, after all these years, I found that there's a lot of local bands that I like.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that isn't local, they're well known, is the what do you call that band again? Oh my God, it's on the tip of my head. They're local punk. They've been around for a long time.
Okay, it'll probably come back to you while we're
probably
talking. What is your experience like when you go to the metal concerts? What do you feel like? What do you like about metal?
What I like about metal is the energy that people create for themselves around, and the slam dancing and stuff like that. I can't do it too much right now because health issues, but I go as close as the stage as I can. I try not to get trampled on. But I love the loudness. I love the fast, hard beats. Some of the screaming, it's good. I don't care. I love it.
And so what are your thoughts about the metal scene?
I'm glad it's still around,
mm-hmm.
because a lot of people today are into other forms of music. But I like the fact that London's trying to keep the metal scene alive.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do on your spare time, or what are your hobbies?
My hobbies, I like just hanging out with friends, hanging out with my cats, because I have a lot of cats.
How many cats do you have?
Too many. I have 4 of my own.
Didn't one of your cats have kittens?
Yes. She has kittens. I'm pretty sure I'll find a home for them all, because people are always looking for cats and kittens and that. But I like acting, horror movies, doing some special effects, blood and gore, stuff like that.
And why metal? You said that you like the fast beats and stuff like that, and you're glad it's still going.
Yeah, I am. I'm glad it's still going. I like the metal because it's a lot. Like I said, it's energy, and it keeps me awake and It releases something out of me that soft music doesn't do, or pop music doesn't do. Not even rap does anything for me, really. It's got to be metal or nothing.
So how long have you liked metal for? You said since you were 13?
Yeah, about that. 1983 is when I really got into it. The band, I'm going to admit, that got me into metal of all kinds of metal is Def Leppard. But then I got into Quiet Riot, Twisted Sister. That Twisted Sister is my band. I love them. They're the greatest, I think. But they also led me into harder bands, including like Iron Maiden, for instance. But then I got into the black metal scene a little bit, of listening to Venom and the hardcore metal bands like Slayer and some of the local bands that are around today.
Now it says, I've got a question here about the impact has metal had on your life. Has it had an impact on your life, metal?
It has, yeah.
It sounds like it, yeah. And then here I have, what do you do to relax? Your cats, maybe?
My cats relax me. I love hanging out with my cats because they're peace and quiet. But in order to relax, I like going for coffee. I like getting together with friends and just hanging out.
And so last question here is there anything you'd like to add, or any shout outs maybe, or shout outs to maybe to a friend or friends or to people, or anything at all you want to say?
I just want to say that I'm happy that people still believe that metal is good and it's still around, and they're trying to keep it alive. Londoners, especially here, they love the scene. And even though they're small venues, small bars, they're always packed and they're always well supportive. And that's what I like. I like seeing that.
Gonna go through my footage and see if I can find anything with you in a concert, because I might have something. There's a lot of footage I have, so I might have something in there with you
Sounds good.
in the concert. So
Yeah.
I might have that after this interview.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much for for being in this documentary.
No problem. Rock on, London.
Awesome. So here we have a metal fan. He's actually been a metal fan for quite a while. And I'm going to get him to introduce himself.
I'm Dave. I've been into metal for about 25 years now.
Okay. Well, actually, let's see here. I'm going to start with some questions. Now, how long have you lived in London for?
All my life, which is 40 years.
Oh, so you were born here in London?
I was.
Okay. And so how long have you been in the metal scene?
I've been a fan, as I say, for 25 years. Been going to shows for, 22 years, I'd say.
Okay. And so can you tell me about how many concerts have you been to? Like roughly? Or is it too many to count?
I've never really kept track, but it's a good amount.
More than 100, less than 1,000, kind of.
Oh, a lot less than 1,000. A lot less than 100, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what does it feel like when you go to a metal concert or metal show?
We talk about in general, or just London or Toronto, or
Like, what does it feel like when you go to a London or just to a concert show? What does it feel like when you go to a show?
Yes, because there is a bit of a difference.
Oh, really?
I'd say, if we're talking about Toronto, or even, in some cases, like, out of the province, there's the adventure part of it, It's like,
Okay.
getting on a bus or whatever, or train, going to some different city and going to the venue to see a band that followed for so many years, have all their albums, and yeah, there's that adventurous part that kind of gets you all amped up. The local one, these days more relaxed. I find it's like going to some sort of pub reunion or something like that. The people there, the bands, and you kind of feel like now once they've made it big, now I can say I've seen them prior to that.
Okay. So it's a more relaxed feeling when you go see a local band.
That's relaxed and local and non-local, but the difference is just a little more quaint. I mean, I know more people at the local gigs as opposed to ones out of town.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is your experience? What is your experience when you go? So you feel like you see more people that when you go to a local band?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what are your thoughts about the metal scene? So you've been going for quite a while, so maybe you can tell me what the scene was like before opposed to what it's like now.
Well, how far back before are we talking?
Oh, since the beginning.
Oh, yeah, I didn't really follow much in the 90s. I was only a teenager then when I was, into metal, but I was still in my 20s and 30s, but now it's a little less. Well, actually, no, I like it more now. If we're talking the local scene, it's a little. I find it's a little less scene-like. It's a little, it's more niche marketed, which is what I like. For those who want to be into it, will seek it out, and that's what they do. This for the, like I say, the true fans that really want to be into it, not just the ones who are going because it's the cool band that's going to be there type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas before, that's what it was like before?
A little bit, like, pre-2010, it was a bit like that, I found, kind of.
Okay. And what do you do on your spare time? What do you do to relax?
Well, I've been learning to play bass, collect comics, listen to metal, of course. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And what are your hobbies? Would it be pretty much the same question?
Same, yeah.
Same, yep. Okay. And let's see here. So how long have you lived in London? I kind of went to a different page here. What instruments do you play? And I guess you answered that with you're learning the bass. You're playing the bass. And let's see here. Your experiences and your hobbies. We got to that one. And why metal?
Why metal? Well, interesting question. It's different than the other genres. It offers a vista of escapism, I find. It's it embraces like a whole other dark side that a lot of other subgenres don't talk about, and it's just something different than the other ones. Has the talent, has everything there, kind of thing.
Okay, and talking about just local bands here, do you have any favorite local metal bands?
Don't really have any favorite per se, no.
Okay, and so what venues have you gone to here in London? Be it past venues that aren't around, and venues that are around.
I've been to the Embassy, been to Rum Runners, been to the Old East. Oh, that's about it.
And as for Embassy, the Embassy isn't around anymore. What was the Embassy like?
Wasn't the most popular. I didn't mind it, but it wasn't the most trendy, I could say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of tucked away.
Yeah, it was. Remember somebody talking about the Embassy it being not the cleanest place.
No, not really.
But it was. It had pretty good bands. Let's see here. Venues that you have been to. Has metal had like an impact in your life at all?
I guess. I mean, it's kind of. It's got me to do things I may not have done, or go to places, or associate with people I may not have done had I been into it, kind of thing. Yeah. So I guess it has in that regard.
Right. So you wouldn't have traveled to, say, Toronto to see a band if it hadn't have been for metal.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. And let's see. Oh, is there anything you would like to add or any shout outs to anyone that you'd like to say to anybody? So this is kind of like the last question. So is there anything you'd like to say or add?
No, not really.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much for helping with this documentary. And metal, right on.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Keep it metal.
That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Hey, my name's Caleb Shivrattan.
Okay,
I'm a
Caleb, sorry.
huge... No, it's okay.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay.
Huge metal fan here. Yeah. Keep those metal signs up.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start with the questions. So how long have you lived in London?
I've lived in London my whole life. Born and raised on the East End.
Oh, you're born in London.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And so how long have you lived in London?
So, I'm 29 now, so that'd be 29 years.
29 years.
Almost 30, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay. Almost 30. So when's your birthday?
September 27th.
Oh, okay.
I am a Libra.
And so how long have you been into the metal scene?
I've been in the metal scene maybe 7 years now. I'm still kind of a baby metal head. I used to be into other type of music, but the metal scene, I've loved it, and I've been a part of it for 7 years for sure. 7 or 8.
Okay. Because the way that we found you was I had you in a photo, and then I used that in the poster. So you're just meddling out there.
Caught me with beer in my mouth, yeah.
That's right. Okay. And so can you tell me how many concerts have you been to? Or is it too many to count?
It's too many to count. However, of all the concerts I've ever been to, it's been all metal concerts ever in my life.
Oh.
So, yeah, the last 7 years it's been metal concerts. And I've been to a lot of them.
Nice.
Especially lately. It's crazy. I love it.
That's awesome. And now, what is your experience going to metal concerts?
It's a little weird, actually. I don't know why, because I try to prepare for metal concerts because I love metal so much. I'm prepared to mosh. I'm prepared to meet new people. Generally, I go to metal concerts by myself. I really don't care. I just do.
Nice.
And I go there and I have a great time, and it's always a great time.
And, well, what are your thoughts about the metal scene?
I love it. I honestly love it. I don't know. I guess there are ways to improve. I haven't really figured out what ways to improve yet. But, like, no, there's a lot of areas where you can have huge, like, nice metal, good metal shows. And I experience a lot of great things with metal shows. So it's pretty dope.
You've said ways to improve. So you've been in it for 7 years. Have you noticed anything from the beginning of the metal scene to now?
Well, I guess I should have said it is improving, and it should keep on improving. I shouldn't have said had to improve. Like, it's great. But what I've noticed, actually, is we used to not get so much metal so much in London. But lately, we've gotten... Each year it gets better and better and better. We're getting great shows. Cool Switch Engage, Obituary, Exodus, Slayer. Like, it just gets better and better. The metal scene is getting way better in London. Mm-hmm. That's definitely what I've noticed, and it's great. I love it.
Right. Now, what do you do on your spare time, and what are your hobbies? What do you do to relax?
Well, listen to music, of course. I'm a musician, so I like to drum a lot, too. I do that on my spare time as well. I hang out with a lot of people, and I like to sleep, of course, because, work is important. Generally, I like to have a good time in general. Like, whatever time, like, I can, I'll just have a good time with people and enjoy life. It's great.
Yeah. Now, why metal?
Well, I had mentioned earlier I am a musician too. And so I used to be into, I'm going to say, radio music. Okay, now I don't like it. Back then, I was oblivious to like other genres. So back then, I used to listen to rap all the time. I'm a drummer, so I play all genres. But then I would just play one genre. But then when I listen to metal, I hear a lot of things that I would hear in Latin jazz, which I'm heavy into, is Latin jazz as well. And a lot of metal musicians are actually jazz trained. So I love the complex, off timing and crazy fast beats and all that too. So I believe metal is very skillful, and and that's one big reason why I have a huge attraction to metal for sure.
Okay. Now, what venues have you been to?
I've been to London Music Hall, Rum Runners, which is basically London Music Hall, but like on the other side. The Oldies 765 Bar and Grill, Budweiser Gardens, of course. And I've even been to like a few like houses in London too that have actually held metal concerts. So.
Oh, like people's houses?
People's houses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Like bands?
Bands, yep.
Oh. So bands would actually...
Locally. Not like huge bands coming into their places, but local London bands actually going to their houses.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Now, do you have any favorite metal bands?
Yeah, I got a lot, actually. Meshuggah is definitely one. I love For Today. I love Impending Doom, Saving Grace, Metallica. I could go on. I really could go on. There's a lot. Dream Theater, there's so many. Tortured Saint, by the way.
What kind of impact has metal has it had on your life?
Well, I guess the best way I can put it, because I said I was a baby metalhead, I go into mosh pits a lot, and I don't know, like it just brings you like away from life and actually like brings you to a night where you really need to express yourself. So. Forgive me, I forgot the question. I knew I was leading on the question, but...
What kind of impact has metal had on your life?
That's an impact, for sure, that it has had on me. Just enjoying, listening to different musicians, too. I'm a musical type of person, so I love listening to different musicians, and a lot of them are amazing. So that just has a huge impact on me as well. It's like how musically inclined and talented they are. So.
Okay. Now let me see. I'm gonna switch around and see if there's anything see if there's anything that I missed here. So what instruments do you play? You already answered that with drums.
I'm a drummer. Yes.
A drummer. Okay. Let's see here. Concerts and. Hobbies, we already got to that. Favorite bands. Okay, so now, this is the last question. Is there anything you'd like to add or any shout outs to anyone?
You know what? Shout out to all metalheads. Shout out to the metal scene in London. It's great right now and it's getting better. Especially all the local London bands. Shout out to you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome. Metal is the shit. I can promise you that. So that's all I really want to add. So keep those metal signs up and
for sure
enjoy life.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for taking part in this documentary.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's try to be fucking respectable, not only of each other, but of the fucking stuff here that allows us to keep doing these shows. Respect. If this beer goes fucking, oh god, I get electrocuted tonight. I want you guys to know that happened.